Richard, how are you today?
Doing great, Chris. How are you?
I am wonderful. I'm really excited about talking to you about the reasons why we honored you. We honored you as one of our top 100 social capital CEOs last year, and all kinds of reasons and all kinds of things to talk about. I always like to start by just telling the leaders that we speak to, a little bit about what we do and why we honored them, and letting the viewers and readers know as well. We started this a couple of years ago because, when all this talk about ESG and was starting up and getting popular, we realized that maybe one of the things that gets the least amount of attention is the S in ESG, and the whole idea of people. And, we have a lot of other important ideas and concepts that we talk about and want to promote, but, sometimes the people get lost in the process. And how do we treat our customers? How do we treat employees? How do we treat people in the community? And the reason behind that. We hear a lot about capitalism, and it sometimes gets a bad rap. But we maintain it's because capitalism is done the wrong way a lot of times. And the right way is when you realize that Adam Smith, who wrote The Wealth of Nations, he has this great quote where he said, "However selfish man may seem to be, what he wants more than anything else is to see the betterment of others."
That's right.
And that's really kind of the focal point of what we talk about and why we honor the people we do. So, first of all, thank you for making that concept and that idea so integral to the way you do business at the Good Feet store.
I appreciate that. And I think you're spot on. I think sometimes we forget sort of the why, right? We get so focused on what is the front facing goal. But I try to continually think about the why. And for me, it boils down to helping people live a better life, helping people do the things that they want to do. And those people are definitely our customers, but they're also our partners, our employees, for us, franchisees. So if you think about our brand, we have multiple customers. Our franchisees are our business partners, but we also provide services to them so that they can then go bring our product out to more people and serve others. And so there's multiple layers of that. But at the end of the day, it really is that why. Why are we doing what we're doing? Is it to really just make money? Well, there's a lot of things we could do for that. But for me, it's helping families, helping people be able to live the life that they're called to live and how they want to be. And that drives me. And I think it's important to focus on.
That's so powerful. And it just reminds me of one of our other honorees that Cheryl Beckelder rebuilt Popeyes and, turned it into a successful enterprise, after it was having so many problems with this servant leadership idea. And I know that's something that's big with you. And you've talked about that. And there's a great quote, where you say we're called in the world to be in service to other people. And you also have this other concept that you talk about, which I think is really integral to a key difference in the way a lot of people look at business. You say, I believe in the idea of abundance. There is enough for everyone in this world, not of scarcity. And I think that points to a very different way of doing business. Spreading the wealth, so to speak, makes more wealth for everybody, right? And how do you see that play out in the way that you run your business?
Well, first, a lot of folks think servant leadership is, well, what will we do for our nonprofit? What will we as a company give back to three causes that makes us feel great about over here working really hard and making a lot of money? And I love that aspect of giving back as a company and supporting causes in our community and nationwide. We should do it, but it shouldn't stop there. Servant leadership is actually thinking about the well-being of our employees, of my board members, of my partners, and that then will actually see a positive outcome on their production, on how they relate with me and how we achieve. And so this isn't, well, this is the give back part of the conversation. It is the investment part of it. It is the piece that matters to bottom line numbers. And I think that's the most important piece that people sometimes get lost on when they think about this in that way. And when for me, the idea of living a life of abundance and not of scarcity comes down to just how you see the world and how you believe in each other and believe in what we can be and we can do. And if you live a life of scarcity, you're always going to worry. You're always going to try to take your piece of the pie, and somebody else is after it. So then you spend your energy defending what really wasn't yours to begin with, right? Or defending of what you clawed for and took from someone else. But that is draining. That is tiring. That's not fun. And then, are you a good dad when you come home after living a workday like that? Are you a good husband, a good wife? You're just not. And so if you flip it on its head and say, hey, let's live a life of abundance. How can we create a win-win here? You want to win? I want to win? Well, no. How do we create a win for all of us? And might, on occasion, I get a few less pieces of the pie than my partner or my associate or the customer? Maybe. But I think over time, it creates more pies. And I think it creates more opportunity. And God, guess what? That's capitalism. That is the fundamental piece of capitalism. People have said, no, 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 it's greed, 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 take, take, take. No, it's to create a machine that continually grows, continually gives people an opportunity to level up in any way that they think is up, right? And I think that's the beauty of it.
Richard, that's brilliant. I couldn't have said it better myself. And you're right. So many people miss that point. Growth is the cornerstone of capitalism. I mean, it's behind the definition of the word. It's about growing, capital into more, and the idea of creating from something more, and not just divvying up what's already there. So very few people seem to really get that as much nowadays. So it's great that you made that clarification, and thank you for doing that. What are some of the ways that you believe that you put that concept and that philosophy into place in your company, that some of the things that you're most proud of?
I want to give a specific example because it's top of mind. A while back, one of our most important employees, we had spent tons of time training and digging in, learning, and that person became an integral part of who we are. And that person had an opportunity to go to another company with his mentor and to do something pretty amazing, but would mean leaving us. And, the typical approach is, well, we invested X in you and we did this in you, and I'm disappointed. Don't leave us. Or I'm going to throw a bunch of money at you to guilt you into staying or try to get you to stay. We took the approach of what's best for you in your long-term development. Might that cause a little heartache for us in the short run? It might. But what can you learn from that person? And they listed it. Can I teach that person today those things? No. So I'm not the best employer for that person in that time. And then it became a free, hey, yeah, good luck. We're excited for you. Do you know that person just accepted a job with us today to come back? Right? And does that always happen? No. But at the end of the day, more times than not, if you treat your employees about what's best for you, long-term employee, and how best you can give back, then we can have that kind of relationship. And I hear executives all the time saying, I'm spending so much on training and I'm doing so much. I often say to them, thank you, because I might hire them. And I'm doing the same thing for you, and you might hire my guy or my gal one day. And now it takes an agreement on all of us to be fair, all of us to be that employee has to have a good heart, right? That employee has to buy into this. He's not just making a play, not just, hey, I'm just gonna try to get more money out of you, right? But if you work with people in a humane, you're smart, I'm decently smart, and we're gonna treat each other with respect kind of approach, and you care about their path, well, it will come back and be supportive of it. And I think that's just a little example that has actually happened in the past year and a half, just a good feat. And the way that we treat our employees, I think reaps great rewards.
Yeah, I mean, I think that segues perfectly into something that I read about you talking about a new work-life paradigm, for your employees, and giving them more power in deciding how and where they work. What's that about? And could you tell us a little bit about that and what that means?
Well, I think the best way, Chris, to first explain it is what it's not. It is not everybody gets to be remote. Everybody gets to do whatever they want to do. It is a conversation with employees. How do we best accomplish what you want to accomplish in your professional life and outside of your professional life? And in some of those conversations, it's, I need to be at the office. I need a space, Richard, and I need a nice working space. And I need my teammates to be with me some of the time because we need to whiteboard. And I'm a whiteboarder. So when that, I'm kind of talking about me a little bit there. But I need to be in that room together. Okay, let's facilitate that. Let's make sure we invest in a headquarters space that allows you to feel comfortable, have the amenities you need to work well. Another person says, Richard, man, I know what I need to do. And like 8 days out of 10, I can crank that stuff out at home. I get to have lunch with my spouse, or I get to pick my kid up at 2 o'clock when they get out of preschool, right? Who gets to do that, right? But listen, I'm actually plugged in probably more than I would be if I was driving to work, got there at 8:30 or 9, left at 5. I'm actually going to be plugged in more when I'm at home and I'm getting my work done. Now, a couple days a month, I'm going to come in because I need the camaraderie with my coworkers. Well, we make that happen, right? And so if you just have conversations with people, understanding that you have to be working with people who are agreeing to be professional, agreeing to think smart about what they want, and also people who are willing to think and to say, you know what, I really need to think about how do I work best? Nobody's ever been asked, right? And so why don't we ask? Why don't we ask that question? And I actually think, Chris, we're going to find if you have that conversation, you're going to have more people coming back to the office, not in the same way they did, but coming back to the office because collaboration, in person, working together. Now, always with that caveat of having that big old screen up with Zoom, who, you know, that mom of 4 who stays home with a couple of kids who can get a lot of work done, gets to actually stay in the workforce because we created that opportunity for her, or dad. My husband stays at home, you know, with our littles. And it's important for that opportunity to be there. But again, it takes a conversation with our employees, and it takes an ability to work together collaboratively about what is best for you and us. And you have to also, I'll end with this, you have to also be willing to say, you know what, that's great. I am so glad you need what you need. That might not fit with our company. Let's keep you on board. I don't want to just let you go. Let's keep you on board till you can find the job that does do that for you. And let's work together on that, and let's create a transition plan. And I think that's important. And sometimes people don't even talk about that, right? Like sometimes it's actually better for a person to leave one job to go to another, or one life experience to be part of another. And that's got to be okay.
So I love that honesty, and that it's such a simple concept. You know, if you think about it, you go, this makes sense, right? Why wouldn't you do things this way? We've had some amazing companies that have talked to us about having open communication like that. How do you do that, though? I know a lot of companies would love to hear your thoughts and feedback on, you know, how do you make that happen? You have a big company, obviously, and you have a lot of people in that company. Is there a process by which you open up that conversation? Is it through managers? Is it through some kind of forum? How do you do it?
Well, first, I believe it has to come from the leader of the company to everyone, saying, this is our ethos, this is who we are. Okay. And it's not words only. I have to live it. The other day I was on a big call. I had a 3-year-old with 102 fever who all she wanted to do was me to hold her. And I had a big call with my team. So you know what? I had it. She was right here. And I stayed home that day. And I had the call. I didn't choose between my kid and the call. I could do both, right? Sometimes you can't do both, right? And I get that. But I have to live that out, right? I have to live that out first. Otherwise, it's words, right? You always hear the executive that says, the company says, we're going to give time off for your new baby. But I didn't take any time. Well, guess what? You didn't give time for anybody because your message was, it's on paper, but it's not in practice. Now that's
right.
Number 2, Chris, is you have to then empower your managers and your leads to execute that in a way that they know will get the work done. And what might work for one department might not work for another. department, and what might work for one team might not work for another team. And our HR has a hard job with that, because they have to weave what is the commonalities of who we are with what are the specific functions and needs of that business unit. My retail team, brick and mortar retail team, can't choose to work from home, right?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, no, my manufacturing team needs you on the floor, right?
Yeah.
So then how do we make life work for them? How do we help them while they're in the retail store? How do we help them when they're in the manufacturing center? Versus my project management team, all over the place, right? And they're trugging along, getting things done, joining Zooms, going in and out, keeping tasks for everybody. And that can be different. And so we have to be willing to be flexible on it, but empowering my teams to make the best decision with their team, not for their team, with their team, and then let them execute that. And me not kind of come down, well, I think X. Well, I don't know, right? I know here, right? And I know when I put up here 30,000 foot view for my executive team, but then let my teams develop their own policies and procedures that work.
So it's at every level is what you're saying, that you're empowering. And obviously you're telling those frontline managers, this is what is important, this is what we need to do, this is how we want the company to operate, but then giving them the opportunity and the authority to do it how they think fit, right?
And one strain that always goes all the way back to servant leadership through to this is the empowerment and the responsibility lands on the individual employee and the worker. A lot of folks think, well, we're going to do servant leadership. When do we talk about accountability? Or when do we talk about they have to do their job? And I'm like, well, it's an integral part of servant leadership. As a servant leader, I have agreed to do X, and it's incumbent upon me to do X or to seek help in getting X done. And in the same way, I'm going to empower my teams all the way to the individual worker that will say, hey, we're going to work this way. Okay, we'll work that way. Get your work done, right? This isn't that's not an optionality, because what we're trying to do is to create the growth, create the wealth, and create the ability to live the life we all want to live. So everybody has to do their part, but that doesn't mean everybody needs to just be told exactly how to do it. And that's the difference, I think. But the accountability piece is high in this. There are some folks who are like, whoa, that's a lot on me. You're asking me to think about my life, my plan. You're asking, you want me to make my workday plan? Some folks are like, no, it's not for me, Richard. I want somebody to tell me exactly when to plug in, when to plug out, when to be in the office, when not to be in the office. That's okay too. Plenty of companies out there that'll do that. But it takes a degree of responsibility for each and every person who joins our team to accept, and they have to own it.
Have you had a pretty high buy-in to that? When you talk about some people, it's not for them. Have you seen the majority of people buy into that though?
Yes, actually, vast majority. And what's interesting about it is even the ones who are like, hey, even during like COVID, when we were essential business, right? We're manufacturing, we're making this product, so many nurses, so many like folks who are on their feet for 30, 40 hours at a time were just coming into our store. And we had glass walls, we had masks on, we had everything needed for folks to get those arch supports in those shoes because they had to go work another 30-hour shift at the hospital. And so we were deemed an essential business in most every jurisdiction. So then my manufacturing team had to come in and work. And then my finance team, accounting team had to work. Well, in some of those instances, I was like, all right, team, you guys all work from home. And I had one person who came up to me and was like, hey, I don't work well at home. I want to be at work. I want to know that the door's going to open at 8 and I leave at 4:30 and I take a little break at lunch and I'll walk. And I'm like, hey, does that work for you? Yes. Well, then great. You get the structure that you need. So as long as people know, you might still get a structure, right? You might say, I crave structure, so give it to me, boss, right? And that manager can do it. Now, are there some who are like, wait a minute, so-and-so gets to do X, but I don't get to do, is this the right place for you, right? And usually, Chris, those folks self-select out quicker than you need to do anything. And we didn't have we're growing so fast, we just kept adding, right? And were there folks who kind of fell off along the way? Yeah, there were folks like the person I mentioned earlier who grew really fast, and I didn't have the right mentor for him to continue his growth fast enough. And he's like, and I'm like, keep flying, buddy, keep going, and call me, or I'm gonna call you when I have that mentor in place. And we got to hire that really heavy C level person just this past year, and now the person gets to come back. So yeah, there's some good leaving, and then there's some good leaving, right? If you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. um, so I want to switch gears for a second now and just go to the customer aspect of this, because this servant leadership idea, right? It's extraordinary what you're doing in terms of the employees and the franchisees, franchisors. But when you go to the customer level, I mean, you guys are growing, but you've grown by leaps and bounds in the last couple of years. And we're in a period of inflation. Everything's going up. Prices of everything are going up. How have you handled that in terms of your pricing and in terms of trying to keep things affordable, for the customer?
Well, the first thing we did when the pandemic hit, right when we purchased the company, is I instructed our manufacturing supply chain team to do what they needed to do to have the inventory that we needed to provide for our customers, even if that meant we started to hold inventory a little longer. So that was the first decision we made, is to make sure we didn't run out of the products that our customers need. And that's not just for our end customer, the person buying it, but it's our franchisee in selling it. And so we actually upped our inventory. We actually spent more money. We held more calls, and my board was supportive of that, and that was an important belief in our customer and belief in our franchisee that they will see us through that, right? That we weren't just going to hold product forever and always. Now, luckily, my product is not food, right? So I didn't have waste, right? So I had the luxury of being able to really buy the materials needed to make our products, and the ancillary products as well. Second is, we are a premium product. We aren't going to try to sell you something on the cheap, made on the cheap, that you have to come back and buy every 30, 45 days because it didn't quite work, or it worked, but then it just fell apart. And so we continue to say we will stay a premium product, and our product has a lifetime warranty, and we won't go away from that. Arch support will support you, and if it doesn't, come back and we'll make it work. If something is different, or if things are changing in your life, come back and we'll make it work. Now, you might need a different size, and I can't just change out sizes, but if we sized you wrong, or if there's a little too much pressure on one part of your foot or the other, we're going to make that right. We're going to and getting that to be the culture of who we are, I think, is the most important thing about providing a service to a customer. A lot of folks think the most important thing is price. I think the most important thing is meeting the need of our customer right where they are. And if my product and my service is worthy, then it will match the price. And so I believe that our salespeople are our most excellent asset to our business, and we're providing a service to our customers, and we didn't want that to taper off at all. And that is the most important piece of our business.
Now, you do have a program talking about price, though, the Good Hearts program, from what I understand. You realize your product is so important and so essential, but there are some people that might not be able to afford it. So you have this program that, from what I understand, it makes it available to people that might not be able to afford it.
It does. We allow our franchisees to run that policy as they see fit in their community. In our corporately owned stores, we're in about 14 DMAs, and many of our franchisees incorporate the policy and or something like it. Is, we're going to get you in, and we're going to fit you, and we're going to see if we can do it. And we have financing options. We have third-party folks, not us, that are accredited, legit financing groups. And if you don't qualify for that, we have some other products that might be a little less expensive, and we'll see if they work for you. If they don't, and what you need is our system, we're going to find a way to get you that system. And have there been opportunities and times where someone left, I need this, and I just I couldn't get the financing. I've got bad debt, or I've got things that are happening, and they were willing to try, and they were sincere. We're going to meet that need, and I'm never going to get on my salesperson who doesn't meet that need, because at the end of the day, that's what we're about. At the end of the day, and Chris, the other piece of that isn't just something that is meaningful to the customer. It is meaningful to the salesperson, right? Because that salesperson is able to say, I'm here to help you, and it's not 100% contingent on, can you afford it, right? Now, again, it takes a responsibility for people not to take advantage, right?
Right.
So you do have to apply for the financing, and you do have to be rejected from that financing. There has to be a true need. And that's the way that we sort of figure out the true need. So it's not our determination. It's a third-party finance institution that can do that. And so we don't need to pry about things. We just say, hey, here's how you do that. And then we're going to meet your need, and we're going to help you.
And it goes back to that empowering again, right? I mean, it shows that you're empowering your employees, your franchises, in so many different ways. And this is a great way to empower them, empowering them to love and take care of people that need a little extra help. I mean, I love that, what that does. I've talked and written so much about how helping others makes us better, makes us stronger, and that's a gift that you're giving to your employees by doing that. And so I applaud you for that as well, because that's super cool. I want to end off by just kind of taking a page out of your playbook, because one of the things that you've talked about is how when you're hiring people, you like to ask them about their personal life a little bit, or what they're passionate about. So I would love to end off by just asking you, what makes you happy, and what makes you really love your life, and outside of work.
Yeah, outside of work, I always tell my employees they're not allowed to start with family, because we all have family in our own way, friends and family. So I always say, tell me something that's not friends and family, and that you love. I love flag football, and I love playing it. I was introduced to it when I moved to Boston for law school, and it was a LGBTQ friendly league, and it was brought together originally to give a safe space for gay and lesbian folks and the spectrum to have sort of a place in the huddle, and a feeling that you could do that. Today, so many kids are able to do that. Some aren't, but back when I was growing up, I actually didn't feel like I was able to really be that part of team sports. And so I started playing that in Boston. Love it. We have such a great time, lifelong friends from it. It keeps me active. I now played in the San Diego League. There is a national league, and there's a national gay bowl every year. And it's an amazing organization. Most of the organizations, when I was at a law firm, we worked on making sure they're all nonprofits, because they really are truly providing a place for people to feel good in the huddle and teaching some really good skills. And we have a lot of straight allies who play in the leagues as well. So it's not just limited to LGBTQ folks. And so I love that. And I do have to say, though, I have 4 little kids. My husband and I are blessed with 4. And I just love taking them. Like yesterday, I was able to take them out to their soccer practice, which is really just learning how not to clutter together, and run around, a little bit. They're 3 and 4, those that were playing. So just time with those kids is just so meaningful. But you got me. Flag football is my dream, man.
Are you good?
I have gotten smart. How do we say that? A lot of times I am 52. I'm playing a lot with guys in their 20s and 30s. But I will say that those folks say, "Hey, old man, you played really smart," and I can get open. But once I catch the ball, I don't run fast or far. But I do like to think I can get open pretty good. But that's just the smarts there in it.
I'm 54, so I'm right there with you. And I realized a few years ago, I might not be able to be faster or stronger, but maybe I can be smarter. So
For sure.
And I think that's just a wonderful way to wrap it up too, because I think these personal passions and opening ourselves up to family and this holistic approach to life makes us a better business leader, makes us better in business because we understand everybody else has those same interests and passions and lives. And I'm sure that extends itself when you ask those questions to uh, giving those people a feeling like they have the right and the approval to have a life outside of business if you're asking about it, right?
No, it really does. And what's amazing in an interview is they're thinking you're going to ask like all these random questions that everybody asks all the time. And I say, tell me something other than your children or your spouse that you love doing. That is actually, and here's how I say it, Chris, which I think is important. Tell me something that you hold so sacred that I know when I tell you what I hold sacred, you're going to value it and cover me. So when I'm going to leave and go play flag football, you're like, ooh, that's important because I have something important in my life. And it can be everything from other sports. It can be to hobbies. It could be, folks just, it's an amazing thing. You learn something about the other person that might have taken years of working with them to learn about. And it's important. And so it really is a way to just be vulnerable and be real, right? And just be you, and it's okay to be you, and I'm going to be me, and I think that's an important piece to that question and to that sharing of that.
Richard, I could not have said it better myself again, and I thank you for that because that's a great way to wrap up. Being real and learning how to be yourself and allow others to be themselves in business. That takes us to a whole new level, of interaction, and it's what's behind this whole perspective on people-centered business and growth. So thank you, Richard, for doing what you do. Thank you so much for taking some time to talk to us. We really like to have these honorees involved in so many ways as we move forward throughout the year. So we'd love to talk to you again, and we'll probably reach out to you and bug you to maybe do some writing for us as well, and be as involved as you want. We've got a lot of exciting opportunities for bringing different leaders together. So we look forward to having you even more involved.
That'd be great, Chris. I appreciate the opportunity and the time today. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Take care, Richard.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.